Hi everyone, thanks for joining today's webinar. Can you just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, please? Brilliant. Okay, so thanks for joining today's webinar. The webinar today is called Securing Returns, How Cyber Risk Management Protects Renewable Energy Investment in the Time of Geopolitical Rising Tensions. So I'm joined here with my colleagues, Aisha and Marco, who will be presenting today. And if you have any questions at all during this webinar, please put them in the chat and I will go through them at the end for you. Marco, over to you.
Thank you for that, Faye. So, as Faye said, we're Cyber Energia. We are a startup, and what we do is we stop cyber attacks on renewable energy sites. This is going to be a slightly different presentation. We're going to be looking at cause and effect. We're going to be looking at the rise of geopolitical tensions and the cascading effects of this disruption on the cost of debt and insurance for renewable energy infrastructure projects. We're going to propose a new paradigm, which is to internalize and actively manage the cybersecurity risk with our Sentry cyber risk management platform. And by that, we're going to increase the risk-adjusted returns of the SPVs and of these assets. And this is the problem as we see it. From 2022 to 2024, the debt spread for BBB rated creditworthiness of the project doubled. So 250 basis points in the beginning of 22 turned to 500 basis points by 2024. That's doubling of the debt spread, which means that for every $100 million that are borrowed to fund the infrastructure projects in renewable energy, the lenders are waiting for 2.5 million more for every 100 million, right? So that financing friction lowers the profitability of the projects. Why do we think that happened? Well, the increase in disruption could be one of the causes, right? Beginning of 2022 saw the start of the deadliest war in Europe since the World War II. I want to point out that direct armed conflict is the most extreme manifestation of geopolitical tensions. The Russian invasion of Ukraine, the Israel-Hamas war, as well as the tension in Far East around Taiwan, all contributed to the geopolitical instability that is still lasting to this day. This is important because direct armed conflict brings hybrid warfare. Hybrid warfare is a military strategy where conventional conflict is merged with sanctions and cyber attacks and various acts of espionage. We see the effects of that with the Nord Stream pipeline sabotage that happened in September of 22 and the Baltic Sea submarine cable disruptions happening last month. We see NATO responding to that as well by training the countries to respond on the cyber attacks on renewables. The objective of hybrid warfare always is to cripple the critical national infrastructure. You are fighting the people, you're trying to break the will of the people, and having no electricity helps you to achieve that goal. Who's doing this? So the cyber attackers are sponsored, organized, and motivated to fight for national interests. This is not an amateur operation. These are advanced persistent threat groups, which are funded by nation-state actors. They're fractions of military or intelligence organization, often with thousands of troops, right? The results of what they achieve are outlined here. You see that the Nordex Group, which is one of the big O&Ms in the renewable sector, has been breached by cybersecurity incident in the beginning of 22. Same time, beginning of 22, the satellite cyber attack took down 11 gigawatts of German wind turbines. If we connect the dots, we can understand that crippling, let's say, energy supply with alternative sources drives the global price of the electricity up. And if the certain nation receives 30 to 50 of their state budget, 30 to 50% of their state budget with selling off the energy in the global markets that is extracted from the fossil fuels, we see how lowering the overall supply drives up the price and the revenue, right? For them, it all starts to make sense, right? So from the beginning of 22 and 23 onwards, we're seeing a beginning of a trend of a high reported attacks on renewable energy sites. Difference compared to conventional warfare is that the asset owners themselves are directly responsible for protecting themselves against these attacks. In conventional warfare, this responsibility falls down to the military. Since renewable energy sites are all project finance sponsored with private money, the responsibility falls on the equity or the asset owners themselves. And this is the result, right? Money talks. The lenders are wanting to see higher risk premiums for the borrowed money. Right? So doubling of the debt spread, triple B rated bond sees 500 basis point spread instead of 250. Right? That this disruption is cascading down to the cost of debt. Insurance market is similar, right? So this is the other counterparty that bears the cyber risk. These are the results of Intelligent Insured and Mankind, which is a big body in evaluating cyber risk that a lot of underwriters also use to quantify the risk. They've done a survey earlier this year, as they often do, amongst the underwriters of the cybersecurity risk. On the left-hand side, we see the expectations of the trend among the underwriters, and we see that 80% of the underwriters believe that the cyber risk will increase over the next year. On the right-hand side, we see what's the biggest pain point for the underwriting market, right? And by far, we see it's the lack of accurate real-time cyber exposure insight, right? It's fine and well to evaluate the cyber risk on a standalone basis as a static phenomenon, but that's not how cyber risk works, right? It's an active threat. It's evolving day over day, and that insight is paramount. So the increased disruption is driving the uncertainty up amongst the insurers as well as the debt lenders, and this is exacerbated by the lack of accurate real-time cyber exposure and insight. And this makes the insurers price the policies accordingly, right? Depending on the capacity that's insured, we're looking at 10, 50, or 100 million, depending on the size of the project. We're seeing the insurers price the cyber component of the insurance policy between 50 and 90 basis points. And in recent conversations with the market, we're seeing that it's reaching a full percentage point, right? So to have a capacity of 100 million insured, the asset owner has to pay $1 million a year, right? Again, another point of friction and another negative cash flow that's driving down the profitability of the assets. And this is the paradigm shift. This is where we come in, right? On the left-hand side, we see the premise of passive risk management, right? Because we're talking about cyber risk, things often get quite abstract, and we don't want that. We believe it's kind of a simple equation. So we made an anecdote where the wind turbines or the solar farms are represented by a house, and the cyber attacks are effectively represented by simple missiles, right? So on the left-hand side, in passive risk management, the entire risk of an enemy projectile hitting the house is passed to the debt lender that borrowed the money for the house and the insurer who insures the house. When we have an average O&M house with windows and doors that lock, but no radar and no surface-to-air missiles, we can evaluate the probability of a hit as X. If we multiply that with the dollar of the average expected damage, that is the price of the house, we kind of understand what is the price of this risk. On the right-hand side, we can move the paradigm to active risk management. Now, if the risk of the enemy projectile hitting the house is managed by the robot with surface-to-air missiles and the radar that's working 24/7, 365, the probability of a hit adjusts accordingly, right? Because we have an active defense in place to prevent the damage from occurring. So if the probability of a hit drops by 75%, the value of the risk also drops by 75%. And this is how we believe cyber risk should be approached in renewable energy infrastructure projects, right? We believe it's an active problem and it requires active monitoring and solution that works actively against detecting and preventing the cyber attacks. This is how we believe we achieve that. This is the tech AI robot that just arrived on the market. The Cyber Energia Sentry is the first active cyber risk management platform for renewable energy infrastructure and capital projects. We detect everything that is touching the asset, that is the renewable energy asset from the internet. We have indicators of compromise and proprietary sensors and models to detect and stop the attacks. I won't go further in that. I think the better way to understand what the robot does and how we stop cyber attacks is to hand it over to my colleague Aisha, who's going to walk you through the capabilities and demonstrate how exactly do we actively manage risk. Aisha, over to you.
Thank you, Marco. So as Marco told you, I'm going to give you a short demo of our robot tool. It's actually a software where you will be able to have an active risk management strategy. So I'm going to share my screen. If there's any issue, please tell us in the chat. So I'm just going to share my screen now. Is everything okay? Yeah, okay, great. All right, so that's what the dashboard, we call it Sentry, looks like. So just to give you a small introduction to it, how to connect to it is quite intuitive. The portal looks like this. Then you will have your email address, your passwords, and then we're using a two-factor authentication method to make sure it's really you. So wherever you are in the world, as long as you have an internet connection, you can log into Sentry and see what's going on. So it's really good if you are working remote, like most of the asset owner, asset manager out there that can be close to all their sites. So first page, straight away, you have visibility on how many sites are being protected. By the way, this is a demo account, but they are real data. So you have 9 sites being monitored. You have straight away as well understanding of what is the most attacked site. Here you can see it's aerohaves, wind turbines, wind sites. And then you can see as well which site has the most network downtime. So straight away, you know which sites are a bit more problematic when it comes to business continuity, and you have to focus on it. So I wanted to show you here our NIS2 radar matrix. We haven't talked about it on the presentation, but it's big element when it comes to cybersecurity. We are helping you staying compliant. NIS2 are going is in every government's mind, and they already put them in you have to respect it. So what we did is we worked with several experts in the industry and regulation experts and NIS2 experts, and we summarized it for you because this documentation can be very long, very painful to read sometimes, but we took the biggest metrics and we are showing you the performance. So here you have the performance multi-sites, and you know straight away where to focus, which is training and awareness, for example, which is a big element when it comes to cybersecurity. On this first page as well, you have visibility on the perimeters of threats that are going on into your sites. So you know which kind of attacks we are monitoring in your sites. You have a great visibility of information on who's attacking you for what reason. So for example, DDoS threats are the most common threats when it comes to cyber attacks. It's like it's the basic level of threats where we're going to throw thousands of small attacks into your sites and see where it's easy to get in. So it's like I'm knocking on the door, and if the door is opening straight away, then I know there's no level of protection there, and I can do more advanced attack and damage more these sites, and eventually they're doing it for ransomware or of a reason, but it's malicious attack most of the time. Another way to understand and have visibility and being active in your risk management is these features I'm going to show you. It's what we call our cyber threat map. It's a nice way, I would say, to see which country is attacking you, for what reason. Again, you have the top 10 countries, and you can see which country is targeting you, and another great level of information to understand, to know who is your enemy, if we can put it that way. So for example, I had a customer who realized that he had a lot of cyber threats coming from Taiwan. And he decided to block all the flow of information coming in and out from this country, IP addresses in particular there. And he added him another extra level of protection. And again, he was very active in knowing who's attacking him. I want to show you here all the sites we are monitoring. Again, it's a demo account, so there's way more. But just to show you the level of information you will get straight away by implementing a solution like Sentry. So you have the list of sites here. You have the type of sites, which are wind, solar, hydro, battery. So what you notice straight away, they are renewable only. So that's what we do on a daily basis. That's our bread and butter. We focus only on renewable. And that makes us expert in the industry when it comes to how to protect your renewable assets. We know what to do. We know which type of hackers are attacking, for which reason, what kind of breach, vulnerabilities we found on these sites, the equipment we have to monitor. And if we have to do remote configuration or installation or whatsoever, we do it quick because we know how to do it really well. Another level of information that is very interesting for customer is here you have straight away the level of revenue this site brings you and how much it would cost you in terms of a cyber attack. And that's, again, a great level of information. So you have how much revenue it's bringing, for example, Aerohave 6 million a year, and you will cost them around 2K an hour if they're having an attack. The hardest part when you get attacked is to restore the system. So sometimes it can take a few days up to weeks, and it costs usually a lot of money. I'm going to show you a granular view on the sites. That's, I think, for me personally, the most interesting here, where you can have more detailed understanding of what's going on your sites. The type of sites, again, a capacity produced, who's responsible on these sites. So we know who to reach out if there's something to do or there's an incident, and you know who has to know as well. Another financial element here on this site in particular, you will know how much it would cost an hour or daily or weekly if we have a cyber attack in this site. So you'll know the revenue impact, the operational cost. And that's great information when you have to present to your board of director and justify why do we need a cyber security solution here. You can tell them this is how much it would cost us, and most of the time they will ask you for this data, and here you have it in hands. Another feature I want to show you, it's this topology that most of the technical asset manager likes when I show them. It's usually they do it, this kind of inventory, from what I understood, they still do it manually. And it's very painful and it takes time. But here we do it straight away for you. As long as we're connected to the system, we can generate this topology for you. And you understand how everything is connected together. In OT, in operational technology, when it comes to sites or manufacturer whatsoever, the equipment are they're all interdependent, but they're very siloed. So you don't have access to everything. And it's the same when it comes to renewable assets. It's really hard to connect to the SCADA system or control system. So We are trying to break this silo, and we are giving you the information you need to take the right decision. Again, we're not here to judge and say, be careful, your SCADA system is full of malware, you have to talk to, or you have to talk to your O&M. No, we're showing you where are the vulnerabilities, and then you can take informative decision and making sure you have the right level of protection, and again, being active when it comes to risk management. Another element here is NIS2. Again, here we're showing you for this site in particular, how compliant are you? And you can see straight away, okay, let me focus on the training and build up a strategy when it comes to training. If you need more detailed reports when it comes to NIS2, we can help as well. But we understood that you have so many, it's a lot of information, so we just want to summarize it and make it simple for you. But in case you need more information, we can provide it, because we know it's a big topic today. I want to show you a last feature on this page. It's the recommendation. So here, it's when it comes to another big part when it comes to cyber resilience. It's the management of your patches, your firmwares on different equipment. So we're telling you where to start. So because we're scanning the environment all the time, we're monitoring what's going on. We're telling you, we're giving you priorities to make sure there's no breach. So we can tell you, be careful on this computer here. It's connected to an open port, so make sure this laptop is up to date, or there's a firewall version which is outdated, so it doesn't protect as it should be, and there's malicious malware in this firewall. So we're giving you again a great level of understanding and information that it would take you a lot of time to get, but because we are professional in this, we're telling you what to do and how to do it. And I have some customers that are asking us to actually manage it for them. And all of this to make sure there's no breach in your sites. I'm gonna show you a last feature, the risk matrix feature that actually is very well liked for investor or portfolio managers. What we did here is we're measuring the threat level and vulnerability level for your site. So we took together how much your site is producing, how much money you're generating a year, which level of protection you have on these sites, and how many vulnerabilities we found on this side. We pull everything together and we come up with this matrix where you can see these dots here are sites. If you're in green, means your sites are not so critical, you have a good level of protection, you understand your risk, it's well managed. Orange, we are good. In red, it's where you should put your money at if you want to invest in the cybersecurity protection. Straight away, you see that these sites are critical. We found many vulnerabilities and we need to monitor it actively. So here you go, and you can see which site it is, if it's critical, the capacity produced, how much money again you would lose in terms of a cyber attack. So yeah, it's a great element if you want to have a more financial understanding on what's going on your site and manage it better. I heard recently that cybersecurity is not just IT or OT, it's more business strategy. So you can start today. Up to you, Marco.
Thank you for that, Aisha. That was great. Let me just use the opportunity to tie it all back together. So Aisha's demonstrated effectively how does the active cyber risk management solution work. Just to headline, so we are renewable energy operation technology focused. So we have proprietary sensors and models that work on wind farms, solar, hydro, batteries. We deploy on the OT side. And with our proprietary financial models, we help the asset owners or the equity owners, that is the people who depend on the cash flow coming from the asset, to secure the robustness of that cash flow, right? So what? Why should you care? Well, because the money depends on it, right? So we believe that your ability to actively manage risks and react to unexpected operational issues improves the creditworthiness of the asset. And this is not just us. This is S&P Global, the biggest credit rating agency in the world. In the general project finance rating methodology states very clearly that the management's ability to actively manage risks, including the cyber risk, and have defense mechanisms and resilience plans to react to these unexpected operational issues helps with the creditworthiness. So we want to help you to improve the standalone credit profile of your debt. On the second side of the equation, we have the other party, which is carrying the cyber risk currently, which are the insurance premium underwriters, right? So we are looking at empowering the asset owners to own the risk, internalize the risk, and manage it in a smarter way, and in that way be compensated for the risk that they carry, right? So with this active risk management platform, you can take control of the risk. The proprietary sensors and models mitigate the risk, and actionable insight with those financial proprietary models that we have help you to delegate actions and prioritize fixes to help you manage the risk, right? And with that, we again help you as the asset owner or the equity owner to actively own the risk and be compensated for it, right? So we're looking at increasing the risk-adjusted returns of the assets. It all comes together here, right? So we're looking to utilize the tech and AI advancements with the Centra platform, which is the first cyber risk management platform for renewable energy infrastructure, and empower the equity owners and the asset owners to actively manage the cybersecurity risk and get compensated for it, right? We've built models and tools that we can use to model out the expected increase in cash flow that the equity owners and the asset owners can expect from the benefits, which are the benefits of them actively managing the cybersecurity risk, right? So this is something to be taken on case by case, working on quantifying that. And that really ties it all up together, right? So I believe that kind of concludes the presentation. I think the chat was very active, and I'll hand it over to Faye to select a few questions for us to answer, and then we're going to answer the questions between myself, Aisha, and perhaps even Daryl. Faye, over to you.
Thanks, Marco. Okay, so first question, how much reduction of my cyber insurance premiums can I expect with this solution?
That's a great question. So again, the premise is that there is a smarter way to manage the risk. Instead of selling it off to the insurance companies as a whole, there is a portion of it that can be internalized and managed for it. And whatever the portion of that risk is, that would be the appropriate adjustment of the cyber insurance. It's something to be taken on a case by case level. That's how we work with it. It's the answer is it depends. But the Sentry has capability to increase the reporting and help the insurance companies price the policies in a smarter way. So whoever has that question, feel free to reach out, and we can help you to build that case with the specific numbers.
Okay, so next question. So who is the target group companies for this product? So for example, is it investors, SCADA suppliers, asset managers, investors?
So whoever depends on the monetary output of the assets, right? So if you are the person that reaps the cash flow from the renewable energy assets, you're the target audience. You're responsible for securing the assets, and you're responsible for making sure that they stay robust, resilient, and that they're not disrupted by cybersecurity breaches.
So this question is quite similar. So what if I have a portfolio of different asset classes, so mixed assets, can I view the portfolio? By that, I guess it could be different types of wind assets, different types of solar assets, for example.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we've effectively established this company to focus on renewable energy assets only, right? So we are focused on securing operational technology assets. Specifically, we're talking about wind farms, solar farms, hydro, batteries, etc. So we are a renewable energy cybersecurity company. We have proprietary threat models and sensors that are going to protect each individual asset class, because the cyber attacks differ depending on the asset class to the asset class, right? And this is, as my colleague Aisha said, our bread and butter, right? So this is our competitive advantage. We focus on operational technology and securing operational technology for specific asset classes within the renewable energy sector, whether it be wind farms, solar, batteries, or hydro, right? And by the way, all of them have different proprietary threat models and sensors as well, because the attacks that are coming to these asset classes differ.
And is there a requirement for any hardware installation on the assets so that this can be implemented?
That really depends on the maturity and what's already there, right? So ideally, yes, there is a device that can be installed. It almost acts as a firewall as well on the OT side. We can also just install a sensor that monitors the traffic and provides complete visibility, and our threat models are then layered on top of everything. If you have a mature environment with a lot of security sensors already installed, such as EDR on OT, we can work with that data as well, right? So it depends on where you are in your maturity and what's already there.
Okay, another question, Marco. So can this product, so the Sentry tool that we have, can it detect vulnerabilities such as, can the program detect and update firmwares? If we need to update a firewall, will we get notified from your portal?
That's a great question, and I think Aisha just said something that she can relate this to, so I think she's better positioned to kind of take it.
Yeah, sure. I showed you the recommendation pages where you have all the list of firmwares and patches you have to put in place in your, you have to take and make sure they are implemented on your sites. But if you want to get notified as well, we really work closely with our site managers. We do the cadence that you want. We can do weekly calls with you. We can, or more or less, but we're making sure that you know what's going on. And if you want to make sure we have a good strategy when it comes to updates and firmwares, we will notify you and make sure you have the right level of communication.
Okay, just a couple more questions here. Okay, can we detect possible pre-installed or backdoors or bugs in the system that pre-existed before they installed it, or before we installed the software?
Thank you. So yeah, before we install the software, we can do a full-on scan. I guess that would pick any sort of existing bugs up. It's pretty standard practice. But yeah, no, the simple answer is yes.
Yeah, and just to add to this, we always recommend, and you'll see that's the good practice in the industry, you always have to start with an assessment of your sites to understand what's going on before you even think about implementing a cybersecurity solution. Start with an assessment scanning, and then we can tell you all the bugs and misconfiguration and so on. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all we have time for today in terms of questions. However, we're more than happy to answer any questions via email, phone call, so reach out to us after this webinar. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, and of course the speakers, Marco and Aisha, for today's presentation, and we'll be in touch with you. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you all for your time.